Yeah, I'll just do a quick introduction. I'm Heather Dunn, the Chief Marketing Officer at Childcare CRM. I have been in marketing forever, for 20 years now. I was really lucky recently. I was named one of the top 10 CMOs of 2021. So really, I love marketing in all of its forms, and I'm really excited to share some tips and best practices as we walk through our webinar today.
And I'm Lisa, and I'm so fortunate to have Heather as a partner here on the marketing side, because my specialty is the childcare side. And as Sierra mentioned, I have many, many years, I am not going to put a number on it, many years in childcare, and my passion is early education. I'm really all about that. My personal motto is no money, no mission. I know that we are all on a mission to provide the very best care, high quality care that we can. And we know that that happens through enrollment. We need money to have great resources in our classrooms and to have teachers who are being paid what they deserve to be paid. And so we want to make sure that we give you every advantage that you can possibly have and every tool in your arsenal to make sure that you are maximizing enrollment so that, again, you can fulfill that desire, that passion to provide really great quality care.
That's great. All right, well, we are going to tag team today and walk through the agenda here real quick. So looking at the agenda, we are going to start off by really just understanding the parents that you're marketing to, along with some of the challenges that they're facing as they move through the enrollment journey. Marketing always starts with knowing who your audience is, and we want to spend a little time on that. And then from there, we're going to talk about the 5 ways you can market your childcare business in your sleep. And this really revolves around automation and the things that you can do that are running where you don't have to be hands-on with those things. You can free up your time to do other more important things. And then what we'll do is wrap up with takeaways and next steps. So why don't we get started? I want to start by looking at the parents that you're marketing to. And the reality is today that millennial parents are now your #1 parent demographic. They make up 80% of today's parents to children under 12. And they're really the first generation that has grown up in the digital age. So their expectations are very different. They don't want pen and paper. They want very streamlined digital experiences, just like they get when they go to Amazon and shop or when they do their banking online. They expect those same types of experiences from childcare services. And just a couple of stats here I'll point out. The 73% of millennials say that valuing their time is important. So the faster they can move through something, the easier it is, the better it is for that millennial parent. Also, millennial parents like to be communicated to through text messaging. A kind of a change. In the past, email has been kind of a primary form of communication. It still is, but text communication is really more highly preferred by those millennial parents. And then the last one, 40% of millennials prefer self-service over human contact. And what I mean by that is they want to be able and go out and schedule a tour when they want to on their time. They want to fill out enrollment paperwork at 7 o'clock at night when it's convenient for them. So kind of a different demographic than you may be used to marketing to in the past. And I'd like to have Lisa kind of take us through what that journey looks like for parent enrollment.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what our current enrollment process looks like, and let's be really honest about what it looks like. So the first thing that's happening is most parents, millennial and otherwise, are doing some research online. And so they're looking for your presence online. Just something to really, really think about. If you do not have an online presence, if you do not have your own website yet, and there are many childcare organizations out there that don't, please, please, please put yourself where your parents are. This is your opportunity to shine. And what happens then is, they land on your website and you probably have some sort of form on there that says, tell me more or more information. And so then they fill out a quick form and that comes to you. And then what typically happens is that form hits your email. And so the parent is then waiting for you to get that form to have some sort of a response to them. And so this is probably not going to happen at a time that is immediate to that parent who's looking. This is probably going to happen the next day or the next time you happen to be in your office looking at email, which we know with today's market and how it's going with your staffing, could be several hours before you're ever actually able to even see that a parent has inquired. We're finding that most times parents are looking for that immediate response. They want to know that somebody is out there processing their need. Then what usually happens is we've got to get in touch with the parent. And this is where we leave our automated systems and we go into sort of old school contact, because at that point we might pick up the phone and try to call the parent, and the parent is a parent, so they might be on the way to work or doing something with their child, and so they don't answer. You leave a voicemail, and then they call you back. You're not in the office, you're doing counts, you're doing things in your center, so they leave you a voicemail and you call them back, and we get into this sort of cycle of trying to contact somebody just to set up the tour. This is not even to process the enrollment. This is just to get them to come and visit. Then when they finally do get that schedule set, you're doing some sort of a reminder there, and then the parent comes in to take the tour. And then what happens at the tour is if that parent does not make the immediate decision, if they're not standing right in front of you for you to hand them a paper enrollment packet, there's some other sort of visiting that has to happen. You know, maybe they're continuing their search and they say, hey, I'll follow up with you. They do decide to go with your particular childcare center, and then they're going to have to come back to pick up all the paperwork and get to that enrollment process done. Perhaps they're on the waiting list because you don't have current availability in your classroom, either from space available or for lack of staff. But at this point, the parent's on the waiting list and they're just kind of waiting and not really knowing what's happening. Where are they on the waiting list? How much longer until they can have a spot? You know, what are their needs and what are your needs in terms of that waiting list? Is there a wait list fee? We really want to give parents a lot of information there while they're in this wait list, what they perceive to be a wait list limbo. There's usually some sort of fee that any, oh, great point. Nobody has personal printers anymore. We're definitely going to talk about that. Then we have the parents who are waiting to do the payments. You know, if they're going to go on your wait list or they're going to go ahead and register, we have the parents who pay fees. You may have noticed on that last slide, not only do millennials not have personal printers, they also don't have checks. And if they do have checks, they might not even know how to use them, or they very, very rarely actually use a paper check to go and do something. And it's, you know, more and more not something that we're seeing on an everyday basis of people using checks for payment. And yet here in childcare, we rely on them heavily. We're still asking people to do something that is truly out of fashion and old fashioned at this point in time. And then, you know, when we've done all the things, we get them on their enrollment journey, we have them enroll, it's time to retain them. We want to keep those families in our programs as long as we can. And the key to that, the key to most relationships is communication. And so you're looking for a way to constantly be in communication with those families, both before when they're on this enrollment journey, and then again, when they have enrolled. Look how long it took me just to tell you about that process. Let me tell you about another process. About 6 weeks ago, I bought a car. I went online to CarMax. I found the car that I wanted. I sent them a message and said, hey, I'd like this car. They sent me a text message and said, great, when are you looking to buy? I said, I want to buy it right now. It was about 10 o'clock at night. They said, okay, no problem. They sent me a text with a link to the financing. I did all of the financing on my mobile phone. They gave me several options to choose from with rates and length of loan. I finished all of that. I did the approval right there on my phone. They sent me another text and said, great, you're all set. When are you coming to pick up the car? In an hour on a mobile phone, I was able to buy a car. That's a big decision. It's a big purchase. It's the same kind of decision that we're asking parents to do here, but we're asking them to jump through an awful lot of hoops that aren't necessary at this point in time. We have the tools and technology to make this entire enrollment journey easy and painless for parents.
Absolutely. To summarize the challenges that our parents are going through, first of all, and we'll kind of phrase this in what they want convenience. They want to be able to find you online where they're looking for you and doing your research. They want self-service options, for example, scheduling that tour or going online to fill out any forms for enrollment. They want immediate responses. And this is a big one. I was just talking to a childcare director recently, and he was telling me that a new lead had come in and he followed up with them. He was using our product, Childcare CRM, immediately followed up with them. They were also researching a competitor. That competitor didn't follow up for weeks and weeks. And the parent said, very simply, the reason I chose you is because you followed up with me immediately. And I never heard back from the competitor. So that immediate response is really critical. And as we mentioned before, they want text communications. They want text reminders. So making text a part of your marketing strategy is very important, particularly for those millennial parents. So now that we've kind of gone through the target market, what they want, let's kind of switch gears to how do we start to give this to them? So Lisa said, you know, we can do better. We've got the tools to be able to do this. And she's absolutely right. And the main tool that we have today is marketing automation. So just to kind of define marketing automation, it's really using software to automate your marketing activities. And it's typically based on a set of rules or criteria. You may say, if a new lead comes in, I want to automatically send this email. If they open that email, I want to send this email. So really just sort of charting a path, including email and text communications, and making sure that that's fully automated. So you're hands-free. You don't have to do anything there. Saves you a lot of time. The benefits here of marketing automation, efficiency and time savings, because you're letting the software do the work for you and send those communications. Increased enrollment rates. So with the example that I mentioned, the childcare director that I spoke to, they got the enrollment. So when you're able to do things more efficiently and more immediate, your conversion rates are going to go up. Being able to scale personalized interactions. So what I mean by that is everybody wants to feel like you're speaking to them one-on-one. You can personalize emails, you can personalize text messages so that those interactions are more targeted. You can also develop better targeting. And what I mean by that is, looking at segmenting your audience or your prospects and leads by who wants to start in a month, who wants to start in 6 months, and having different types of communications going out based on those start dates. And then ultimately, you're building a strong brand image. The reality is that your goal is to build trust with these families, and building that trust really starts with the first inquiry. That's their first impression of you. And if you have an immediate and a strong first response, and you continue that throughout their entire journey, you are building an incredibly strong brand image, and they are more likely to retain and stay with you. So jumping into the 5 ways to market your childcare center in your sleep, we're going to have Lisa take the first few, and so I'll hand it over to Lisa.
Yeah, we're talking about these tools and we're talking about automation, but let's talk about the nitty-gritty. What actually is it? And the first way is to automate your follow-up. We do not expect, I don't think anybody expects that you are going to be manning your childcare center 24 hours a day. However, the reality is that parents are looking for care at multiple times during the day. Parents might be looking for care in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. when they're doing a feeding, and you are not at your center during that time. And so what we're looking for is immediate follow-up and immediate attention to those families, no matter when they're looking for care. One of the things that we know that's really, really important, and by the way, just to give you guys a little bit of confidence here, these numbers that we're using and a lot of the statistics that we're sharing with you come from our own studies of over 5,000 locations of childcare centers across the globe. And every year we take a look and we say, okay, what's happening? What's really going on out there in childcare? And how can we make a difference in that arena? And so one of the things that constantly comes up in our study is speed to action is key. Speed to response is really what is making a difference in your enrollment. The stat right down here on the right-hand corner is incredibly impactful. Childcare centers that follow up first increase their chance of enrollment by almost 80%. And so we really want to make sure that that speed to action is on our side, that we are making those responses as quickly as we possibly can. And one way that we do this is while we're asleep for that 2 o'clock feeding and that parent is up, we automate responses. And so we use tools and systems that allow that parent to have an immediate response to their inquiry. The other thing that we do through automation is we can really customize that journey for the family. We can use features called drip campaigns. And I like to explain drip campaigns. I'm going to age myself here again, second time in one webinar. But one of my favorite things as a child was choose your own adventure books. And that's what drip campaigns really are. We can automate what's happening with this family based on how they receive and interact with our content. So we might send them an email, as you can see here in this flow chart. If they open that email, yay, we're excited. We're going to send them a follow-up email that includes a video tour or that includes some other bit of information because they've really expressed interest. Now, when they get that second email, if they open it again, man, this is somebody who is ready to enroll. So we want to send them a tour link. But again, it's really dependent on how is that recipient, how is that family, that parent interacting with the content that I'm sending. And by using automation, I'm able to path their journey based on what they're doing with the information I'm sharing. I cannot imagine how difficult this would be if I were trying to do this with paper and pencil. If I were saying, oh, here is the Smith family, and I sent them an email 2 days ago. Wait a minute, let me go check. Did they open that email? Yes, they did. Now I'm supposed to send them this other email, but wait a minute, is it the one with the video or without? Having to try to remember that on top of everything that you're doing already every day would be quite a burden. And so using automation, using tools and systems like Childcare CRM, those are the things that are going to make your life easier. The other thing that we want to do is we want to, again, self-serve. Heather mentioned a little bit ago that this is what millennial parents are looking for. They are looking for things that they can do easily with minimal contact. And so we talked about that process of, once the family inquires, we're calling them back and we're sending emails and we're having sort of this back and forth, trying to get them just to schedule the tour, just to visit us. And so we can make that very easy by having a tour scheduler, very easy to access and prominent on your website. Now, the important thing to know about a tour scheduler, and I can speak to the one that we use here in Childcare CRM, is that you get to set the parameters. And that's what I love about this tour scheduler, because it is not just an open tour time where you say, okay, everybody schedule at 10 o'clock, and then you realize that you have licensing inspection that day and you have to call everybody back and reschedule them. If you know when your licensing inspection is, or when you're having accreditation validation, or you're having the entire center go out on a zoo field trip and you're not going to be able to do tours for that day, you're going to be able to mark that so that parents are really pulling from an available pool of tour times. And that way we don't have double booking and parents get that great self-scheduled experience there. And the other thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we are really keeping parents engaged throughout this whole process. There's many steps of an enrollment process. The first thing is inquiry. Then we're at the step where we're talking to them and we're trying to get them scheduled for their tour. Then they schedule their tour. And we need to remind them, hey, your tour is scheduled for this time. We're looking forward to seeing you. Don't let us down. Then they're going to come in and take the tour. Some will make an immediate decision, but most will want to think about that. And then they'll go on another path of follow up after the tour. And what does that look like as we're trying to help parents on their journey towards enrollment? And one of the things that we see, again, from our study is that when we engage with parents 7 times, the actual statistic is 6.74 times. So, we're going to round that to 7. When we do that, we increase our likelihood of enrollment by 20%. And again, this is very important because we know that enrollment is what keeps us in business. Enrollment is what helps us to fulfill our mission to those families. And so staying engaged with parents, having constant communication with them about where they are in their enrollment journey and what their next steps are is also key to getting them closer to that enrollment commitment. The other thing that we can do, and we talked about this a little bit, is when we're making those points of engagement, when we're trying to engage and talk with them 7 different times, it needs to be personal. We want to make sure that they know that we're interested in them as a family, in their child's development, and what we can do for their particular family unit. And so we want to make sure that we're using their name. People love to hear their name. And so when we're talking about automation, we want to make sure that we're not losing that personal people connection. We want to, when people get a text, it doesn't need to be just a blind text. We can say, hey, this is a text from Poolside Childcare, and this is where it's coming from, and this text is intended for Miss Mary, and we want to talk about this is Lisa, and I'm contacting you, and let's talk. Let's have that connection. And so we want to make sure that we're really engaging them, not just by sending information, but by making that information personal to them.
That's great. And as we kind of continue down the path, the next thing we want to do is we want to automate our nurturing to our waitlisted families. So, as your wait lists are filling up, keeping those families excited and engaged with what's going on at the center is a big deal. Having a similar a drip campaign where you provide additional information on the center, give them a status update on what timing might look like given your capacity and occupancy, giving them information, just additional information and tools around education on how to help toddlers and different types of educational pieces. These are all things that you can put into a nurture campaign, so those waitlisted families don't feel like they're on an island. They know that you're engaged with them, and they know that you're keeping up with them, and that you're statusing them and letting them know when they may be able to move in and actually enroll. Drip campaigns are a great way as well to work with those nurtured families, waitlisted families. Now, the next automation we want to talk about here is allowing your parents to enroll and pay fees online. So the enrollment process for parents is typically very paperwork heavy. We talked about earlier, we saw in the chat that most parents don't have printers. Absolutely true. So the kind of the old way of printing out a stack of paper and having parents fill that out, it doesn't work anymore. Parents want to be able to go online, easily complete their forms, not have to complete duplicate information, put their name on 5 different pieces of paper. They don't want to have to do all of that. They want a simple process to just get the forms done and get them submitted. So offering those online options for enrollment is key. What we have found when parents or when centers move to an online enrollment, the median time it takes parents to complete an online enrollment packet is 4 days. Typically, if you're doing this through, I'll say kind of the old way of paperwork and printers, that actually is a 2-week plus process. So it takes more than 2 weeks, sometimes up to 4 weeks in order to get that completed. So that just delays things on your side as well. Not to mention your team, your staff, they have to chase down that paperwork, make sure it's complete. They can't, if someone brings it in, they have to make sure all the required information is there, versus an online scenario where you can require certain form fields and the parent has to fill those out, cannot complete their packet unless that's done. So moving the whole enrollment and forms process online is a time saver, not only for the parent, but also for the center. The other component of that is being able to pay fees online. And I see in the chat, a lot of folks are talking about, waitlist fees and enrollment fees. The fact is, any kind of pre-enrollment fee, whether it's an application fee, a registration fee, a waitlist fee, fees for supplies, being able to do all of those fees as part of that online enrollment creates such a streamlined process. The parent goes in, completes the form, pays whatever fees, one fee, multiple fees, and then hits submit and is done. And you've received your payment. Your staff hasn't had to process that payment at all. So that the whole process of allowing those parents to complete enrollment and pay fees online is a really great way to automate and to save time and meet those parent expectations that we've been talking about. All right, well, why don't we open the floor up for some questions, and then we'll talk through next steps. So let's see what we've got here.
Oh, Heather, I was just answering one in chat.
Oh, perfect. Do you want to say that one out loud?
Yeah. Somebody asked about what product do you use to automate childcare forms? We have a product. That's why we're here. A product called Childcare Forms, which is amazing. I've personally done a lot of research around forms, and let me tell you what I found, because it was frustrating, and I know it's frustrating to parents. We found, on average, the paper packets that people are using are on average 14 pages long, and we're asking parents within those 14 pages to fill out their own name 9 times. Just to write their own name 9 times. So it's redundant. It's frustrating to parents, especially parents who are used to doing things quickly and simply online. And so our particular product, you overlay information that parents enter onto the forms. That includes all of your mandated state forms. We've already gone through and found all of those for you. So we have an industry standard, amazing enrollment packet. Parents just fill out one interview, and then it puts all of that information into all of the forms that you need, so that they can do that in a very quick, easy to understand, self-serve type of way. And then, as Heather just mentioned, what we've layered on top of that is childcare pay, where once they've filled out that paperwork, they're not going to have to come back in and bring you a paper check. They can go ahead and process whatever affiliated payments you might have with that forms process.
Yeah, so I know, Todd, you had a question on online payments. What systems do you use? So with our products, Childcare Form and Childcare Pay, together you get the ability to do all of your forms online, and for the parent to be able to pay with debit, credit, or direct deposit, ACH, right in the same interface, and get everything completed there. All right. There was a question, Lisa, I'll send to you from Kayla. If you automate your forms, is there then a print option if there's a requirement for paper forms or someone needs them?
Absolutely, Kayla. So as much as we know that the public is embracing digital, some of our childcare authorities are not. Many states are still requiring us to have paper. So there are some states that have gone fully digital. I know that Texas is fully digital, Minnesota is fully digital, where they will accept. If you can show them the digital record, your forms are there, that's great. But many states are still requiring that printout of all of the paperwork. And yes, Childcare Forms does offer that option. You'll get a PDF version of the form so that you can print it out and have that. We do also offer within that product digital signature. So the parents do have that opportunity to securely digital sign whatever state forms might require, that sort of thing. We find that is true too with some of the federal forms, like if you do food programs and that kind of thing, they do need a digital signature, and we have all of that available.
Yeah, and kind of related to this, and we may not, you may not know this exactly, Lisa, but I'll throw it out there. Dean asked, the online enrollment packet that is available, does that meet the Wisconsin DCF licensing regulations?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so all of the state packets that we have, basically what we've done is we've gone out to the licensing entities and said, what's required in your packet? Show us what you need. So we have an entire packet of state forms for each state. And then we also have federal forms. Again, if you're using USDA food program and you want to layer that on top of your center-based forms, your state forms, and then if you want to have the USDA forms on there too, we have the capability. And yes, we have the forms that are directly from the state licensing regulators.
Great. And then this kind of speaks to, I think, probably a worry that we sometimes have when everything becomes automated. Like, how much control do you have when things get automated? So is there a control feature? We worry about families. We don't want auto enrolling, auto touring, auto waitlisting. Is there a way to control some of the automation?
Yeah, absolutely. We're offering automation as a convenience. Not every millennial parent is going to want to do self-serve. They might want to read through it. They might still want it as paper and pencil. And so any system that you're using, I would hope, has a fallback, a way that you can do that still manually or through an automated process, whichever way you'd like. And in our system, Childcare CRM, that's certainly true. If you'd rather give them paper and pencil, or if they say, hey, I'd rather have paper and pencil, great, no problem.
Yeah, and I think even just the control you have over, for example, if you have a link on your, or a availability on your website to schedule a tour, you are going to set that up and control the times that are available for a parent to schedule that tour. So it's not like you're opening up your entire calendar and they can do anything they want anytime. You are going to control, these are the hours that we have set for tours, and the parent will have to choose from one of those. Just an example of the kind of control you do have over some of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe in your center, you only tour on Tuesdays from 10 to 2.
Yep.
That's the only time that you make available then to families.
Perfect. All right, let's see here. So this is a question. We don't have childcare settings through our org, though our, sorry, we don't just have childcare settings through, though, and our org doesn't just interact with parents. We want to talk to the government, charity partners, local, etc. Is that something that your CRM can manage?
Yeah, I think that what you're going to want to do in that particular scenario where you have a really specific use case is talk with one of our account representatives, let them talk through it. We have many, like I mentioned, over 5,000 centers that are using this particular software, and they come from all different areas. We have traditional full day childcare. We have part-time preschools. We have before and after care programs. We have specialty extracurricular enhancement programs. We have all sorts of use cases and ways that the system can be configured and moved. We do have social media links. You can put information out there on Facebook. You can get instant Facebook messaging. That's all then recorded in the system. We have UTM tracking. You can record all of your origin URLs. I would say, let's have that conversation. Tell us your specific needs, and we can look at ways that we can meet those needs for you.
Great. And I see there's some questions around, can you see a walkthrough of the product, pricing questions. So why don't we talk a little bit about what next steps are. So I'm just going to put a quick poll out here. And if anyone is interested in seeing a tour of how our software can help you automate your marketing, just let us know here through the poll. We are running a special offer for folks who are in attendance at the webinar today. We will waive if you do a demo and purchase our products by April 19th. We will waive all of our implementation and training fees, and that's a savings of about $800. And so feel free to either let us know through this poll, or you can go to our website and fill out a demo form or email us. And we're happy to give you more details on pricing, talk more about any specific use cases that you have, and walk you through some of those more specific questions. And thank you. I need to hit launch. There we go. There's the poll. All right. And then I did want to let you know that we are going to follow up with a link where you can download your certificate of attendance. You'll receive a link of a recording of this webinar. We are going to send you our ultimate guide to marketing automation with some additional tips and best practices. And then would love to see you on our next webinar. We'll send you a link if you'd like to join us on April 13th. We'll be talking about 3 mistakes to avoid when you're communicating with millennial parents. So how do we make sure those communications are what the parent wants to see, and helpful, and encourage those parents to move forward in your enrollment journey. With that, I want to thank everybody for attending today. We really enjoyed speaking with you, and hopefully you found the information helpful. And Lisa, thank you so much for co-hosting and for all of your great information.